Welcome. In this training mission you will learn how to use the excellent Flanker Mini HUD, cockpit reflections, and padlock to help maintain situational awareness while in a close-air combat dogfight. To take control of the aircraft at any time, press the escape key, or to exit this mission, press the control and Q keys. I'll first start off by explaining the Flanker Mini HUD, and what it is a tool that gives us all the information we need to be able to fly the aircraft in a controlled manner without having to look through the HUD. And what information it gives us is it has a basic attitude indicator, which represents the same one on the instrument panel, which will give us our pitch and roll attitude indications. In the upper left digit is the airspeed readout, upper right altitude readout, and if accompanied by a P or an R, that's your radar altimeter reading, which is your altitude above ground. The attitude indicator portion of the Mini HUD, which is the main part that we're focusing on, has an aircraft datum, which is an aircraft symbol that looks as if we're looking from directly behind it. Has a horizon line with the horizon or pitch indication number, which is directly to the right of it, and has angle of bank indication marks. As our aircraft increases in pitch or climbs, the aircraft datum will climb above the horizon line and the indication number will increase corresponding to our pitch. As we descend or our nose is in a negative pitch, the aircraft datum will descend below the horizon line and the indication number will be shown with a negative, showing negative pitch. The angle of bank indicators will show as our aircraft rolls. The aircraft datum also rolls and banks, and they start off with the first 30 degrees in 10-degree increments, followed by 45 and then 60 degrees. Okay, that explains the Mini HUD. And now we're going to talk about how the position of the Mini HUD on your screen will help you know exactly where you're looking outside the canopy. Starting off in the center, as you can see, looking straight out the cockpit through the HUD, the Mini HUD is in the very center of the screen. As we slide our view off to our 4 or 5 o'clock, the Mini HUD slides to the left edge of the screen. Here we're looking off our 7-8 o'clock position, and the Mini HUD is now on the right edge of the screen. So this is telling us that the Mini HUD is always closest to the nose. So if the Mini HUD is on the right edge of the screen, we just have to move our viewpoint to the right, and we're looking back out the front. Mini HUD on the left edge of the screen, move our viewpoint to the left, and we're looking back out the front. Now as we move our viewpoint straight up, the Mini HUD stays in the center of the screen but starts sliding towards the bottom edge. So again, Mini HUD towards the bottom edge, move our viewpoint down, and we're looking out the front of the aircraft. Now if we add a vertical component to this, if we're looking up over our left shoulder as we are here, the high 7-8 o'clock position, our Mini HUD is towards the bottom right edge of the screen, which means in order to get our viewpoint back out the front of the cockpit, we move our viewpoint down and to the right. And same with the left. Looking over our high over our right shoulder, Mini HUD bottom left, move our viewpoint down and to the left because the Mini HUD is closest to the bottom left edge of the screen to get our viewpoint back out the front of the aircraft. Okay, so now that since we know where the Mini HUD is positioned on the screen, it tells us which way we're looking outside the canopy, let's add in cockpit reflections. Now, the cockpit reflections are another great tool, and if we draw a straight line up from the top of the HUD through these two red ejection seat handles, up through the pilot's oxygen mask and through the center of his glare shield, this straight line is called a lift line. And this lift line is important when maneuvering during a dogfight, because we want to put the bandit on our lift line or our lift vector, and from that position all we have to do is pull back on the stick and we can bring him into the front of the aircraft for a shot. So indications of our lift line, we have the mini HUD, which is in the very center of the screen, and we have our cockpit reflections. So if we place the bandit anywhere on this line, all we have to do is pull back on the stick to bring him into the HUD for a shot. Now what if our bandit is up high off our left shoulder? Well, now we have to maneuver our aircraft to place him on the lift line or lift vector. So in this case we know that we're looking high off our left shoulder. We want to roll the wings to the left, and once we bring that aircraft onto the lift line, we can pull him back on the stick, bring him into the HUD for a shot. Okay, now we'll add padlock. Flanker's padlock is probably one of the best implementations of a smooth scrolling padlock in a flight sim to date. And using the padlock with the cockpit reflections in the mini HUD, we can easily maneuver our aircraft to place the bandit on our lift line or lift vector. When an aircraft is padlocked in Flanker, the aircraft is towards the center portion of the screen. If you draw a line from that padlocked aircraft through to the mini HUD, again, that's telling you the direction that you need to move your viewpoint in order to bring them down to the front of the aircraft. But we're more concerned about maneuvering our aircraft to bring them onto the lift line. So again, here we're looking high off our right shoulder. In order to bring them onto our lift line, we're going to have to bank our wings to the right, bring the aircraft onto the lift line so we can pull back on the stick and bring them into the HUD. Okay, it sounds a bit confusing at first, but once you practice this and get to know it, it becomes second nature. So again, all we're thinking about here is where the aircraft is and where we're looking. Here we're looking off our left shoulder. We know to bring the bandit onto our lift line, we have to roll our wings to the left to place him, or the mini HUD, onto the center of our cockpit reflections or the lift line and lift vector, pull back on the stick, and we can bring him into the HUD. We have an inbound excellent F-16 Falcon. Let's go try to put this information that we've learned to use. Away we go. Okay, here's our target. Okay, he's now tracking us with his radar. Okay, by going into beyond visual range and locking him up, we can see exactly where he is. It's visual now. I'm going to switch to helmet mode. Use keypad delete to padlock.
maximum G, maximum
Okay, now
G.
we know he's on our lift line. All we have to do is pull back on the stick and we can bring him into the HUD. If we let him drift off to the left, we can see is to the left of the mini HUD. The line from him to the mini HUD takes us to the front of the aircraft.
Maximum
So we'll
G.
roll into him. And now we're using the attitude indicator on the mini HUD.
G. Maximum G.
To keep our aircraft in control as we fly and try to
G.
bring him onto our lift vector.
Maximum G.
So here I'm just
Maximum G.
at 90-degree left bank and I'm just pulling back on the stick as we're in a
Maximum
horizontal
G.
fight. He's rolling towards our lift line. And as you can see, he's coming towards the front of the aircraft. Okay, now I'll perform a high yo-yo.
Maximum G.
So we're going to climb, again using the mini HUD. You can see the attitude indication. And now we're going to descend back down onto him to try to close the distance.
Maximum angle of attack. Maximum angle of attack.
Again, now you can see he's drifting off to the right edge of the screen. I'm rolling the wings perpendicular and pulling back on the stick once he's on the lift vector.
Maximum angle of attack. Maximum angle of attack.
So if we let him climb, you'll see that he's climbing right up the lift line. Then all I have to do is pull back on the stick to bring him into the HUD, to the front. And he's ejected. Again, using the mini HUD, we can see we're in a nose low attitude in a right bank. So we know and the padlocked aircraft is to the right of the mini HUD, so we know he's off to the right. So we're going to roll the wings to the right, bring him towards the center of the screen. Oh, he's gone now, sorry.